We now move on to the next session on data protection and consent management, a very crucial and important topic in the entire scheme of things and a unique subject which is to be discussed. In terms of customer experience is concerned, data protection and consent management plays a very, very vital role. And to talk on this, I would like to call on stage with a big round of applause, Mr. KeerthiVivek Muniappan, Director, Solution Engineering and Solution Architecture from SAP APJ. A big round of applause to KeerthiVivek. All over to you.
Perfect. I hope I am audible. Perfect. Cool. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to host you here, and it is an honor for me to talk on data protection and consent management, one of the most hotcake topics around there in the market right now. So why data protection and consent management is important? Pretty simple. Most of the businesses, almost all of the businesses are getting more and more customer-centric. And why is this happening? Mainly because of three things. Customers are shifting towards digital channels. They want to buy more and more on digital channels, and they want that experience in digital channels to be as close to their buying experience on a physical channel. And businesses, they are adopting more towards a direct D2C models. They want to sell directly to the customers. And then with all the cookie policies and the cookie depreciation coming into picture, first-party strategy gets prominence in the ecosystem. So gone are the days where brands can depend on third-party strategies, third-party snooping around to make and reach out to customers and prospects across multiple ecosystems. They need to look at a first-party data strategy. Now, this customer centricity has made organizations invest more in digital transformation centered around customers. Now, when you center something around the customers, right, you want to make sure that the experiences that you give them is fundamentally amazing. And when you look at the cost or the price a customer pays for your product and your subscription, majority of the cost is for the experience that they go through while making that purchase. So experiences do matter. Products, yes, of course they matter. And the way you sell, the experience and the journey that they go through while making that purchase decides who wins and who loses. And in order to make sure that this journey is optimized, this journey is amazing, one of the fundamental things that you need to look at tapping is customer data. And customer data remains as the fundamental pillar of making and creating amazing customer experiences. So this customer data everybody is collecting, and and most of the brands think that they are doing a good job. But as per a research, only 10% of the customers strongly agree that the brands deliver good experiences after collecting data. And this is due to multiple reasons. They may not be using the customer data only for the purpose that they have promised to use it for, or they are using it in a different manner. So I'll just quickly play a video which sort of summarizes what is actually happening in the market right now. So this is a pretty interesting video.
What is your name?
Alison Burgers.
That's a made-up name. What's your real name? What is your real name? I am interested. We are interested.
Employees.
Employees what?
Employees. Muswashheads.
That is a made-up name.
Okay.
What is your real name?
Max.
Max what?
Imum Occupant CU 120.
There is a number in the name. Who are you?
So this is exactly what is happening right now. As brands, you want to make sure that you provide that personalized experience to your customers. And as us customers, we want to have some fun. We will give you that information only if we trust you. So we ultimately end up getting into this never-ending cycle of them trying to understand you and you trying to outsmart them. So how can we change this situation? How can we change this scenario? A simple one word: trust. The foundation of a good customer experience is trust. It is pretty similar to any relationship. So when it comes to any relationship, right, you need to make sure that you trust your partner. And a brand and consumer relationship is pretty similar to that. So trust is something which will make sure that customers will keep on coming back, customers will give you that preference, and you as brands can keep on giving that promised personalized experience that you are constantly working towards for. Now, what does actually trust mean? Pretty simple. You need to keep your customers safe and keep you safe. Keeping customers safe in the sense you need to make sure that when you collect the data, you keep it safe, you store it safely, you secure it, and you need to use the data only for which you have promised that you will use the data for. And this first topic of keeping customers safe will play a big role in increasing the customer's trust coefficient with you. Second, keeping you safe. You need to make sure that you store data securely, adhere to all the regulations, compliance norms that are out there. Now with DPDP coming into picture, that is one of the one more thing to cater to. So you as an organization, you as a brand should have a technology setup that is foolproof to keep you safe so that you can avoid fines, you can avoid penalties, and you can avoid reputation loss in the market. Now, what are the building blocks of this trust? So essentially 4 things. When you collect data, you need to collect in a responsible manner, in an explicit manner, and store the collected data in a secure, encrypted manner when the data is at rest, as well as when you're transferring it between multiple systems and multiple data centers. So you need to be responsible and secure in the way you manage customer data. The second most important thing is be transparent with your customers. You tell them that you are collecting your data for XYZ purposes, and you should use that data for only XYZ purposes. And you need to have a platform which will make sure that, which has to make sure that whatever consent and preferences your customers or prospects may change, that needs to be seamlessly incorporated in all the communications that you would do moving forward. So be very transparent, get explicit consent, clear consent and preferences from your customers, and explicitly state the purpose that you're collecting the data for and use it only for that purpose. The third thing is right to privacy. Your customer needs to own the experience. Your customer needs to dictate how should you use the data. If they want to delete the data, if they want to edit, if they want to modify, if they want to download, if they want to get a clear snapshot of the consent audit trail, you should be in a position to explicitly give that. And this significantly increases the trust coefficient. And the most important thing, regulatory compliance. So adhere to all the regulations, be it GDPR, be it CCPA, be it DPDP, and any other regulations and compliance norms and laws that will keep on coming up. The platform should be able to make sure that you satisfy all of these things current, as well as when new things keep on coming up, you should be able to seamlessly incorporate all of those changes in a very, very less disruptive and a seamless manner. Now, getting to the regulatory compliance part specifically, and to address the monster in the room, DPDP regulations. So one of the questions that I keep on getting when I speak with prospects and customers is, what is DPDP regulations? What are the principles? And do we have something which can help out in making sure that you as brands cater to that? The answer is absolutely yes. So I have summarized the principles of what DPDP stands for. First, there are essentially 7 summarized principles. First one, you as an organization should collect data only with explicit consent from the customer and clearly state the purpose that you're collecting the data for. And second, the collected data needs to be used only for the purpose that you stated you will collect the data for. And third, you cannot store the data beyond the duration of what you have stated for. If you say that you'll store the customer data only until the product is delivered, after the product is delivered, the data has to be erased completely. And you say that you will hold the customer data for probably 6 months, 1 year for marketing purposes and communication, there has to be automatic mechanism which should be automatically delete the data and completely carve out the data after the stated purpose timeline expires. And your customer, every citizen, has to have the right to privacy. They should have the right to dictate how to use their data. If they want to delete, they should be able to delete it. If they want to change the data, they should be able to do it. If they want to modify their preferences and consent, they should be able to do it at any given point in time. And the fifth principle, data needs to be stored in a very, very secure and encrypted manner. And there should not be any breach, any misuse, and any exploitation. And the sixth principle, the data storage needs to be accurate and error-free, which essentially means only your customers, only your prospects, or the data providers can, when I say data providers, ultimately I mean customers and prospects, has to have access to the data. Nobody else, not SAP, not you as a brand. Only the customer should have access to their data. They can delete, they can modify, they can erase, they can do whatever they want with the data, and you need to seamlessly appreciate that, and you need to seamlessly make sure that you incorporate in the subsequent communications. Now, the seventh most important principle is mandatory reporting of any breaches. So every single breach, in case if it happens, has to be reported. If not reported, it can result up to 250 crores of penalties for every single breach. It's not just cumulative number, it's every single breach. So this essentially calls for one single thing. The right to privacy for a citizen is no more a nice to have. It is a fundamental right. And the platform that you choose to make sure that you cater to these DPDP regulations and the other three things that I mentioned earlier has to be foolproof, has to be trustworthy, has to be something which is for the current usage as well as for the future usage, so on and so forth. And we in SAP exactly have that platform that can help you out in doing that. So when you look at the the consent management part, right, it is ultimately making sure that you give the power to your customers and they dictate how do they want you to engage with them. First things first, the platform should be able to seamlessly capture preference and consent in an explicit manner, in a seamless manner. So you can define any number of policies, you can define consent policies, privacy updates, and hold everything in one single place. You can define custom consents based on various, let's say if you have multiple LOBs and every LOB will have its own custom consent. For instance, if there is a conglomerate and if they are into healthcare, if they are into retail, if they are into BFSI, finance, insurance, everybody has to have their own version of consent policies. You can maintain and you can create and maintain all these policies in one single place. Second, you can have multiple versions of it. So this is pretty important to cater to probably the second and third principles of DPDP that I addressed. The consent policies and the version policies and the preferences that you define, you can set up an expiry time. And once that time is expired, the system will automatically trigger your customers to give their reconsent to their policies. This is essentially important to make sure that your customers are aware of your recent policies, clearly aware of what you are intending to use their data for in the exact time frame whenever they interact with your login with you. So you can define multiple versions, toggle multiple versions, and get reconsent from your customers and prospects in a very seamless manner. And the third thing that we will be able to help you do is provide you with, the platform can help you have accurate and governed records. So which essentially means if somebody gives their consent and preferences for XYZ activities, so that can be seamlessly pushed into a connected system. For instance, if I log into if I say that I don't want you to reach out to me for feedback, the moment I change the policy, the system will trigger and tell the connected feedback system, the mailer that you are sending to customers for getting feedback, ignore the specific customer because he or she has completely removed his preference or has not given his consent for feedback. So likewise, there could be multiple things that I can change, and all of these things has to be seamlessly executed in the connected downstream systems like marketing, sales, feedback, any transaction system, any customer-facing system that is out there. And last and the most important, the platform gives you will make sure that you give your customers and prospects a self-service preference center. So your customers can log into the self-service preference center, change their preferences, change their consent, change their acceptance of policies at any given point in time. And the third benefit that I mentioned, third capability that I mentioned will ensure that the changed policies and the changed consent are seamlessly incorporated in the downstream systems. So these are essentially the things that relates to data protection and consent management when it comes to SAP's platform. And this we call it as enterprise consent and preference management capability. And this is a very, very important part of what we call as SAP's customer data solutions. So when you look at our customers' data solutions, there are multiple things that you can look at. Of course, with the customer identity and access management module, you can seamlessly bring in that first-party identity from your customers. They can log in register with you using their social media handles. They can register with you using, let's say, mobile number, OTP mechanisms. They can register with their email address. There are multiple ways they can register. So we have more than 25 out-of-the-box connections with social media vendors, which essentially means when your prospect and customers register with social media, you will be able to seamlessly get the social insights about them in a legalized manner and in an explicit consent optimized manner. And once that is brought in with our enterprise consent and preference management module, you can seamlessly maintain various versions of preference policies, control policies, consent policies, and make sure that the proper data protection norms are in place, be it for customers for data in motion and data in rest. And ultimately, if you want to bring in more data and enrich the profile that you've already created, you can use our customer data platform. But just to reiterate, from a data protection and consent management perspective, our enterprise consent and preference management module would definitely help you do that. And this is there in the market since a long time. And if you look at the trust and advantage factors that we as SAPs give you, as of this month, more than 3 billion identities go through our platform. And more than 2 billion logins happen per month. And 25 billion plus API calls per month goes through our platform. And we manage around 15 billion consent transactions. And the ECPM module is live in more than 85,000 sites. And just to give you the confidence of how the platform works, in the recently concluded Football World Cup, the official broadcaster of in France made sure that they created a portal and they were able to make customers register and incorporate their consent seamlessly using our customer data solutions. It was a combination of CIAM, ECPM, and customer data platform. And similarly, we have a lot of customers who have been using our ECPM, CIAM, or CDP modules. I think we have more than, put together, we have more than 1,000 customers who are using one capability or the other of our customer data solutions module. So we will be able to ultimately help you in making sure that you gain your customers' trust and ultimately use that trust as a competitive advantage for you to win against your competition, to make sure that you are the front runners and you set the tone of proper data compliance and data security. So it was a pleasure presenting to you, and I think I'll open the floor for any questions since we have 4 more minutes left.
Thank you so much, Mr. KeerthiVivek Muniappan. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That was Mr. KeerthiVivek Muniappan from SAP APJ for that wonderful presentation on data protection and consent management. And since we have time, and I would request our audience to kindly come forward with any questions you have for Keerthi. You can raise your hand and please let us know the name of your organization and the question.
And we have a question there.
So I request you to kindly keep the hand raised.
Hi, Keerthi. Good session. In your session, you mentioned that there will be multiple other touch points which will be using the consent that your solution will be capturing. Yeah. How open is your system? How is the connectivity proposed? And how is that simple? Because that's a huge operational challenge.
So, it is API based and script based. For instance, if you have a digital property, you can embed our script in any of the digital property, be it a kiosk, be it a website, be it a mobile app, be it any digital touch point that you own. You can seamlessly embed the scripts in there, and the consent and preference management policies would be there. Not just consent and preference management things, but also the CIAM part as well as the CDP part. So we follow an API based plus script based mechanism, and it is predominantly HTML and JavaScript based.
Thank you. Can we move on to the next question, if we have for the speaker? Any questions from the house? Fair enough. Shall we call it?
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much, KeerthiVivek, for that wonderful presentation. And I would request you to kindly be on stage. And now I would like to call on stage Mr. Dilpreet Singh. Head Loyalty CRM from ITC, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our speaker. Dilpreet, thank you so much for doing the honors. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. KeerthiVivek Muniappan, Director Solution Engineering and Solution Architecture from SAP APJ on Data Protection and Consent Management. Thank you for that presentation and wonderful session, KeerthiVivek.